Okay, sorry for the late start and a little technical difficulties. Let's call the meeting to order. And you should have a minutes in your packet. Just need those approved.
Do we do roll first?
Oh, you're right. Roll call. Sorry, Dee.
Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Here.
Doug Bruce,
Yes, here.
Sam DeSaller,
Here.
Lee Sandwise, Bernard Cross,
Here.
Jeff Golden.
Here. Now we can move on to the minutes. Ever reviewed the minutes, and can I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Dee?
Okay, Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Abstain.
Bernard Cross,
Muted, Bernard.
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes. Okay.
Motion
so
carries.
Thank you. Let's move on to COA. So we have COA 21-23, 316 North Washington Street.
Okay, COA 2123, 316 North Washington Street. Petitioner is John Raybold with Granite Management. It's a contributing building, Colonial Revival Adam, circa 1929. It's the installation of wall signage to the building is the request. That being said, the signage has already been installed before coming to this commission with the COA. It's technically not in a current historic district with guidelines, so I reviewed the U.S. Secretary of the Interior website for guidelines on signage. A couple of relevant bullet points. Signs should be viewed as part of an overall graphic system for the building. They do not have to do all the work by themselves. The building's form, name, and outstanding features, both decorative and functional, also support the advertising function of a sign. Signs should work with the building rather than against it. Sign placement is important. New signs should not obscure significant features of the historic building. Staff doesn't recommend approval for COA 2123. Number one here, planning is working to determine if the signage is currently in violation of ordinances. The signage as it is in violation. Only one sign would be approved by planning. There are multiple signs on this building. And so anything beyond one sign is in violation of planning related ordinances. The signage also does not complement the historic nature of the building, and the signage obscures the masonry, which are historic features of the building.
Okay. So we have the petitioner here. Anything to add?
Mr. Rabel.
Mr. Raybold? I thought I saw him on there.
I'll see him now. Okay, I do.
Mr. Raybold, are you there?
Sorry.
Yeah. Anything to add? If you're adding, we can't hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm driving and I might be conflicted here. So no, first of all, just apologies for putting up too many signs. That was something our team did, and some place to take those down soon. I don't really have anything to add. It was just an advertising means to lease a building that we just received management on. So if it's not something that conforms with the historic, and I didn't actually know it was a historic building, but so we have no problem taking it down if it's not in accordance with what you guys expect.
Great, thank you. Commissioner questions. Chris, any questions?
No.
Bernard, any questions?
No.
John, any questions?
No questions.
Doug,
Nope.
Sam,
No questions.
Duncan? Are you here, Duncan?
I guess my question is for the city, if they don't have any problem taking it down, is that the end of it?
Well, I think they'd keep them up if we don't disapprove. I think that's the,
This is Daniel Dixon with Legal Department. That's correct. You would still need an either grant deny vote on that question.
The reason I asked the question is because we just got told the sign wasn't in compliance. So,
all but one of the signs is in compliance.
so the city has reviewed both the signs and they both meet the city standards, but there's one too many?
Yeah,
So planning, a different department right than hand has signage ordinances.
I understand.
And so if the commission was to approve of this COA, that granted would have to only keep one sign. That would be technically in compliance with the ordinance, but that's planning's review, right? So this commission is reviewing based off of historic nature and impact of the signage on the building.
I appreciate that. And the reason I'm asking the question is because there are currently two signs on the building and I don't know which one we're supposed to approve.
No, I believe the question before the commission is the signage acceptable at all to the commission?
Okay, I'm not trying to make it more complicated. I'm just saying you presented us with two signs. So which one are we talking about and which one's coming down?
Yeah, I can answer that real quickly. If a sign is approved, the sign would be the one that just says granite with a attached banana to it. It would not be any phone number or URL. And it's the one, I guess, which would be facing Washington. It's not the one running down, I believe that's 8th Street.
Okay, so then my question is, would it stay in the same location that's shown on the petition? Because there's where it's covering the stone.
Well, I mean, I guess, knowing that there's more specifics to it now after we've already had it installed, if you guys approved a sign at all, we'd be happy to make sure it's in compliance. If I guess it's kind of a moot point if it's not in compliance at all in general to have a sign up there, but happy to move it if in fact you guys are willing to allow us to have one up there with proper guidance from the city.
Thank you.
Matt,
No questions.
did I miss any commissioners?
Can we get the packet shared?
Right, so this is, I believe, Mr. Raybold, is that the sign that you would intend to leave if you were allowed to have one?
Yeah, and that's that brick background was more of a mock-up that we did for some other projects. So you can kind of ignore the brick, but yes, everything else is accurate. And it's all just one piece. It's all die cut.
Great. Commissioner comments? Chris? Chris, you have any comment?
I support staff's report. A resubmittal of this would be a way to go, maybe.
Bernard?
No comment.
No comment.
John, Bernard. Doug?
Yeah, I think, given the circumstances and the issues with planning right now, I think, I don't know if this one is one where we deny it, or do we move it or carry it over to another meeting and have a resubmittal? I'm not really sure the best way to go, but I think it certainly, if the sign location could change and the size and some of the wording, I think there's some things we need to sort out on it.
My understanding is that planning will only deal with it after we deal with it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Daniel Dixon, this might be a question for city legal. This COA was for all of the signage. So I think in the event that this COA is denied, the commissioner, it sounds like they may be willing to take up a different COA that is for this one sign.
I thought of another question. Is a yard sign acceptable? It'd be more acceptable to the commission, I would think.
That's a planning question, I think.
Is there a staff person that might know whether that could be down in the yard instead of on the building?
I could speak to that briefly. This is Keegan Gulick from the planning department. We do allow signs that are less than 1.5 square feet. So, like a typical yard sign could be an option for sure.
I'm sorry, did you say less than 1.5 square feet?
Right. We don't regulate signage that's smaller than 1.5 square feet.
But they couldn't have a larger yard sign? Like that size in the yard on posts?
Potentially. I'd have to check the code real quick. Let me I don't have the answer right now.
That would be more traditional and more appropriate, even though it is a giant banana.
Any comments? Sam?
Yeah, I mean, given the way the COA was put forth to the commission, I'd be inclined to support staff recommendation and deny this one. If they want to come back, especially with a yard sign with a different COA, I would consider that, but I don't feel it as submitted is appropriate.
Duncan?
I agree with what Sam just said. And I guess I feel like it's only fair to give the petitioner some guidelines. Obviously what was stated about not covering up historic fabric is one of them. Size definitely makes a difference in regard to that also. And I'm a little concerned we've got a residential building that is being used to advertise something that doesn't have anything to do with the building itself as a historic object. It's just advertising because these people happen to have the management contract. That somehow using these buildings as signs for general advertising seems inappropriate to me. Maybe a ground sign is a solution to that, but I don't know. Put it on your car and drive it around.
They do. Matt?
I agree with everything that's been said. Doesn't seem to meet the standards, so I don't think we should approve.
I'm also not going to support this COA. Any comments from the public? Okay, I need a motion.
I'll move to deny COA 21-23.
I second.
D?
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes,
John Saunders,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 yes.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Raybold.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to COA
Thank you, guys.
21-24, 112 West 6th Street.
Okay, so this one was continued from the last meeting. I received an email yesterday from Olympus Properties. They need to continue it again, which means they'll have to resubmit their COA because it will have expired by the next meeting. So whatever action needs to be taken, Daniel Dixon, this will not be heard tonight.
All right, Brent, can you clarify, did they say they want it continued? Is that what their email said?
Yes, they do want it to be heard. The staff person that I talked to just says, we're sorry, we've been very busy. We just don't have the information yet, or we're not prepared to present to the HPC just yet, but they do want it to be heard.
Did they give you a date like that said we'll definitely be ready in 2 weeks, or did they not specify that?
I didn't get a definitely ready, but I did get a could it be heard at the next meeting email. So
it can either, it sounds like they're agreeing to a continuance, but the cleanest way to do it might be to deny it and then have it resubmitted, but
okay.
Those are the options.
Okay, in that case, I'm entertaining a motion for denial.
So moved.
Second.
B,
Christopher Baum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
yes,
Motion carried. 6 yes.
great. So let's move on to COA 21-27. It's 118 North Walnut Street.
Okay, this is petitioner is Casey Kirby with IY Group. Its rating is contributing. Functional commercial building structure circa 1902. It's located in the Courthouse Square Historic District. The request is for temporary vinyl graphics on exterior windows and then LED lighting on the interior. The guidelines for the historic district, the relevant points: scale of signage should be in proportion to the facade, respecting the building size, scale, and mass, height, and rhythms and sizes of windows and door openings. Obscuring historic building features such as cornices, gables, pilasters, or other decorative elements with new signs is discouraged. Signage which is out of scale, boxy, or distracts from the historic facade is discouraged. Staff recommends approval of COA 2127 with the following comments: size and scale of the signage does not obscure the view or distract from the facade.
All right, is the petitioner here?
Yes.
Anything to add?
No, is that I sent an updated one, I believe yesterday or the day before, with the lines to be reduced because we had to be at 25% coverage. There were some like gradient lines on the side top windows. If you scroll back up a little bit. Sorry, that page right there, but they were a lot thinner than that to meet the requirement of the 25% that the planning department requires.
So the white lines that are just thinner to meet the.
Yeah, I have another proof right here, if you guys can kind of see where it's a lot thinner to meet the requirements.
Yeah. Great.
There would be nothing on the exterior, like the LED lighting, nothing would be mounted to the exterior of the building. There would be nothing in the brick or anything like that. It's just the vinyl that would be on the exterior. Everything else will be cased on the inside ledge that we would sit the lighting on. And we kind of show an example further down of what that would look like on the interior of oh, maybe it was up a little bit, sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, that page down. And that's what, so that little photo right there is what it would look like just sitting inside the ledge. And then if you go up one page, it shows what it would look like at night. So it's not like blaring or anything like that.
Great. Commissioner questions, Chris?
No, I don't think so.
Bernard?
No questions.
John,
No question.
Doug,
No questions.
Sam,
No questions.
Duncan?
When you say temporary, why is that? What's temporary mean?
So this is the temporary leasing office for a project for Trinitas. So they will only be there till July of next year, I believe. So like a year while their property's being built. And then they'll move to that permanent leasing office.
Thank you.
Matt,
No questions.
any questions from the public? Commissioner comments, Chris,
Seems to meet criteria.
Bernard,
No questions.
John,
No comments. Thank you.
Doug,
I agree with Chris.
Sam?
No, I'd just like to comment that if you guys recognize this when it came before the commission before, I think the previous applicant did a nice job cleaning up the storefront.
Duncan?
No comment.
Matt?
No comment.
I also don't have a comment. So I'd like to hear a motion, please.
Motion to approve COA 2127.
Second.
Dee?
Chris Sturbaum,
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Let's move
you.
on to demolition delay. Demolition delay 21-09, 1213 South Brooks Lane.
Okay, petitioner is Lauren Wood. Property is contributing. It's a mid-century ranch, circa 1951. The background, there is one residential structure on the property, likely limestone facade and likely original window. The request is full demolition. Guidelines, according to the demo delay ordinance, the HPC has 90 days to review the demolition permit application from the time it's forwarded to the commission for review. Recommendation, staff recommends releasing demo delay 2109. This ranch residential home sits on property with a generous setback and gives the impression of a rural estate. Staff is not aware of the building or original owners, so historical significance cannot be established at this time.
I think we have several people from Lauren Wood. Okay, who's going to talk?
This is Lauren Wood, and I'm happy
Okay,
to
hey, Lauren.
speak to this. Hi, all. As it says, we're seeking a full demolition permit. You know, frankly, the house is a slab on grade that would be tough to bring up to today's efficiency standards. That's the biggest issue here. We're not looking to replace it with a larger house, frankly. We're going to come back something similar stylistically, but are looking to bring it up to today's standards. And it's just hard to see how to do that with the existing structure.
Great, thank you. Chris, any questions?
No burning ones. I'm just surprised that it's simpler to just take it down than to work with it. Maybe you could talk to that a little bit more.
Yeah, Chris, I'd be happy to. And to be clear, this is not my house. I'm speaking for a client who has a purchase agreement on this house. What she's looking for has a very different footprint, slightly smaller, but is a ranch with a similar style. But certainly one could, via some gymnastics, take this existing structure, insulate over the slab, redo the plumbing entirely. But stylistically and just due to the structure that she's looking for, it didn't seem like it made sense. Furthermore, and while she might not tear the whole thing down, it would have to go through this demolition delay process to be approved. And for full transparency, this process that I'm in right now is part of the purchase agreement on the home. So she wanted to make sure that she was able to significantly change this home to the, not necessarily demoing the whole thing, but if necessary to do that before they close on it. So that's why I'm in front of you guys here today.
Right. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
Bernard?
Am I on? Yeah, I'm just curious as to how it got contributing status if it says here in the last line, the original owners can't be found to contribute to its historical significance. What was the criteria used to establish it as contributing?
I'm guessing it's architectural. It is a 60-plus-year-old ranch, stone ranch, which is historic, I guess. Does contribute.
Okay.
Yeah, they're mid-century modern districts that have been designated in other communities and one or two in our community. So they just are rating it based on those criteria.
But isn't that in itself historical significance? I'm curious as to how.
So the demolition delay process doesn't rise to the level to say that, to go to recommend this to the Common Council for individual designation, and that's where the decision becomes tough. Is does it warrant enough for that individual designation? This would have to go through the Common Council to be designated.
All right, that's my only question.
Great, thanks. John?
No questions.
Doug?
No questions.
Sam?
No questions.
Duncan?
No, no questions.
Matt?
No questions.
Any questions from the public? Commissioner comments? Chris?
Yeah, this is how demolition delay is supposed to work, that we look at these one last time before they go. If there was a giant movement in this neighborhood to designate a local district and this was a critical piece that was going to be lost, it would be another story, but we haven't been moving toward designating these kinds of neighborhoods, and it would make no sense to locally designate a single structure like this, in my opinion. But it's nice to get a chance to say, save it or goodbye. That's a nice thing for the commission to keep their eye on what's happening in that neighborhood.
Bernard?
Nothing from me.
John?
No comments. I agree with Chris and the others. It's sad to see it go, but there's lots of others out there.
Doug?
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris. That's why demolition delay was put together to bring these structures before us. I would add to what was said earlier that one thing about these houses when they're listed as contributing, it usually means also that they do not have enough historical fabric to stand on their own as a designation. Typically, that's not the case all the time, but together as a collection. And of course, as we start to see them disappear one at a time, obviously that removes some of the contributing nature. But I think this is exactly it. I hate seeing these houses go down, but I know that Lauren is very attuned to architecture in this town, and so I don't think he looks at it very lightly either. I don't think these are the type of homes yet that we're seeing all of them needing to be saved, but certainly it's on the radar for these homes that are these mid-century, homes. So I agree with staff on this one, and hate to see it go, but at least we got a chance to review it.
Sam?
I guess the only thing I have to add to that is if Mr. Wood finds anything in the course of the whatever extent of demolition he does that is salvageable, to take it down to restore and somebody else can use it.
Duncan?
No comment.
Matt?
I don't think it meets criteria for individual designation, so I would approve releasing the demolition delay.
I'm also going to support releasing of this permit. So today, regarding the property located at 1213 South Brooks Lane, the Historic Preservation Commission declares that it got notice of the proposed demolition, and after today's discussion, sees no need to review the plans any further and waives the rest of the demolition delay waiting period. The HPC may later recommend the property for historic designation to the common.
Second.
Steve?
Sturbaum,
Yes means that we allow the demolition, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
John Saunders,
Yes.
Doug Bruce,
Yes.
Sam DeSaller,
Yes.
Bernard Cross,
Yes.
Jeff Golden.
Yes.
Motion carries 6 yes, 0 no.
Great. We're going to move on to a courtesy review again for Lauren Wood regarding important building in one of our historic districts. Lauren?
Yeah, I'll just speak really briefly to this. I've been retained by Rich Ham and Fine Tune to help them during the early stages of their negotiations with the city to purchase this building. I've been involved with a previous purchase agreement on this building, so this is something that LWB has been involved with for maybe a year and a half now. Unlike the last house that we looked at, I think this is incredibly special, and we're looking to preserve it and really just coming to you guys, to the commission for feedback. I put together a really quick presentation here of some buildings that you all are very familiar with, and we're looking just the reason that I have so many people from my team on this meeting today is just so that we've got several sets of ears to hear your feedback. That we'll take back to the drawing board during this early sort of design phases on what will become the build out of this building. And I'll let Rich Ham maybe speak a little more to his company and what they're looking to do here.
Thanks, Lauren. And thanks everybody for letting us get on your agenda tonight. I am Rich Ham. I started my firm Fine Tune back in February of 2002 in a basement over in Hyde Park. It was the home my parents would eventually retire to. I was living in their house as they were wrapping up their teaching careers in the Chicago area at a very competitive rental rate in those days. So I was able to start a business, and 20 years later, we have grown steadily, have a great relationship with the university. Over the last decade or so, we've been the largest employer of interns from the Kelly School and have increasingly become more and more of a technology-focused business. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of our company right now, but we seem to be a really perfect fit for the trades district. I think we fit really beautifully with the city's vision for that area. When we saw this building, we thought it was just perfect. My partner and I, as we were reviewing it, I said, well, my first call is going to be to my friend Lauren Wood, who knows the town really well. He probably knows something about this building, and it turns out he knew a lot about it. And so that's great. I was super excited to get Lauren involved, and Lauren recommended that we get in front of you all as early as possible, and so I'm really here to listen as much as anything tonight, although I'm happy to answer questions as well. And so let me not talk your ears off. Let me just say, like, I'd love to hear what's important to you all. We have a vision of keeping the spirit of the building and keeping what's important to everybody to the greatest extent possible, and balancing that with a little shiny new feel to it that fits with the city's vision for the area. But beyond that, the vision isn't really fleshed out yet, and we want you guys to influence where we go from here. So that's why I came here tonight.
Great, thank you. So why don't we go through the PowerPoint?
Yeah, do you, Rich, do you want me to walk through these bullet points, or is there?
Oh, I'm happy to, Brent, if you want to back up even. Yeah, so yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine. No, I'll try to do it without reading to you, because I'm always annoyed when people read to me. I'll hit the highlights. A bunch of our partners and one, my partner and I, Matt Smith, and I own about 87% of Fine Tune. We're equal partners. He did his MBA at IU. I did my undergrad at IU. As I mentioned, we're a big employer of interns. We have another minority shareholder that's a tenured accounting professor at IU. So, and I've lost count of how many IU grads we employ among our salaried ranks, but there's a good number. So we're very, our two homes are kind of Bloomington and Chicago, even though we have a number of employees, strewn about the countryside, the way a lot of modern businesses are. But we envision this building becoming our flagship, our headquarters. We're an Indiana LLC. We're really proud that we recently became a certified B Corp. Historically, our business has been about cost savings and administrative efficiencies for our clients, but increasingly sustainability is becoming a bigger and bigger part of our business. And that's by design. My partner and I realize we work with some really large companies. Among our clients are companies like Pfizer, Cargill, DuPont. We do a little thing for them, but we find ourselves doing more and more for them as time passes. And it happens that we specialize in some industries like the waste and recycling industry and the textile industry, the uniform and industrial laundering industry, that have really grand scale sustainability challenges. And so we have made kind of stated the ambition and bent our business in the direction of making sustainability kind of a third prong to our offering, trying to do some good on a grand scale and bend our clients' behaviors for the better in these problematic expense categories. And so became a B Corp this year. And of course, we're just excited to work with Lauren. And I loved hearing that he had been in due diligence on this building and had some level of vision and plan for it. He was, as we walked through it with Lauren, he was able to speak in great detail about what he knew about the building and what he thought, needed to be done going forward. We can jump ahead, Brent. And then, yeah, a lot of this was actually Lauren helped me put together this content, but obviously, we've got to make it accessible. But it's the aesthetic is to maximize the extent we can embrace the history while, as appropriate, bringing in the city's vision for the corridor. Give everybody a chance there. And then, yeah, there's just some pictures here as we go through, Brent.
Yep.
I'll narrate these real quick if it's okay. I'm showing here the front. This is Lauren speaking. The original front entrance, which faces east. As you can see, pretty difficult to make that accessible. Once you get inside, the only way to the second floor is via some staircases that don't meet code by today's standards as well. Certainly our intent would be to preserve this original east facade in its entirety while cleaning it up, of course. As we said on the last page, all the windows would be rehabbed in their original, sort of brought back to their original condition. We can move on through the next. I just showed some of the existing. So that's the south facade. Again, tuck pointing brick, fixing windows. Here you're starting to see the west facade that has been built out over time. You can see the original brick with the CMU above and In the back, they housed boilers that fed both this building and the Dimension Mill building. And you can see the lines still run over there. You can keep pushing through. Yeah. So these west views are really where we see the opportunity for creating an accessible entrance, creating, you know, an elevator access to all the floors, and changing changing the public facing side of the business from what was the east to the west. I'll stop talking here. I show the Solution Tree building, some slides of all the elevations of that building, as well as the Dimension Mill. This is the Solution Tree building. You can go ahead and push through. This is the original east face. Here you can see what they did to the back, to the south and southwest. You guys are all very familiar with this building, but I just wanted to go ahead and show this because 601 sits in the courtyard with these two buildings.
Okay, I'm gonna open up the floor for questions or comments, just popcorn style.
Lauren, on the west side, there are some buildings already in there, so your plan is to demolish those and create a whole new entryway through there. And then what about the structure with the I-beams and stuff that are kind of adjacent to that area?
Can you guys click back so that we can see that west view and you can see those I-beams? Yes, yeah, you sort of see them there. I mean, they're carrying insulated lines from what was the boiler in those sort of annex structures to those flat roof structures on the west side. That's all defunct. I don't know why those weren't removed in the past. I mean, maybe someone else on this commission can speak to that. The carrying structures themselves are interesting and architecturally interesting. I'm guessing that the lines were just not removed because they hold asbestos and it would have cost somebody money to take them out. But yeah, my plan would be to keep those carrying structures if at all possible, but remove those three sort of shed roof or flat roof buildings, keeping the original brick wing walls, of course, and then using that space to create a new public face for the building and accessibility to the building.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to jump in because this is a cool building, and I believe it's a showers company building, correct?
Yeah,
this is the administration building. Yeah,
that's what I thought. This is out of scope, but I can't help myself. Is this the one that inside it there was an auditorium?
I think so, yeah, on the top floor.
Oh man, I'm just super curious. Is it still there?
Lauren, you want to comment on the state of the top floor? You probably can better than me, but it doesn't look anything like an auditorium, I'd say.
No, there's no auditorium in there. It's all been repurposed as open office.
All right, it's such a cool part of the showers history. And anyway, we're just commenting on the outside. I'm just curious. Thank you for indulging me.
Any questions or comments?
Lauren, on the interior, on the east side of the building, there's some wonderful woodwork in that space. And actually, all through the whole building, there's some really interesting things that were done during that period. are you going to try to keep some of that stuff, or is it just going to be totally all changed?
It's the city's expressed intent that all that original woodwork be maintained to the greatest degree possible. And certainly that's our intent at this point. I mean, conveniently, the way that the building is set up is functional for an office setting, which is what Rich and company are looking for. So, definitely our hope and plan is to maintain original casework, millworks, fireplaces, et cetera, to the greatest degree possible.
The layout is really fantastic for us. It's, and if anything, it's such a shame on the upper level right now. There's, what do you call it? Drop tile? Is that what that is, Lauren? Or, yeah, it's like
a drop ceiling that obscures all that original beam work that you see in the main showers building and in the dimension mill. And so exposing that, I mean, if anything, our plan is to peel back the layers that have been added over the years and express the original design. I think we'd love to see that building in its sort of original glory on the inside and outside.
With one exception, and it's probably as good a time as any to mention that my one big demand is that we have a massive banana somewhere on the outside.
Hey, Lauren, this is Doug Bruce.
Hey, Doug.
It sounds like you guys are going to do all the right things on the exterior, and I agree with your direction on the west facade. I know I'd looked at a couple of different clients had looked at this building over the years, and that seems like the best area to punch some holes to get accessibility to those couple of levels. The only thing I wonder about that I thought would be the neatest thing on the inside, of course, is that vault in the corner. There is a 2-story vault. And I think a lot of the HPC members, I know Chris and Duncan have been around and maybe Sam to have been inside this. That 2-story vault I thought would be the coolest card room, bourbon room that I've seen in Bloomington anywhere. But you have to watch it. I hope you find a way to utilize that because it's really rare, really unique. And I know it's an interior element and we don't have as much say. But
it's too cool to not keep. It's really cool. And so, and don't get too far ahead of yourself on the coolest bourbon room, but I think that could almost be the VIP bourbon room because that basement level looks like an awfully cool speakeasy. It could be destined for the lower level. I think that's would be Alex Crowley is the one who planted that seed in my mind, and I can't shake it. So
awesome. Well, good. Well, I think obviously this building really needs someone's attention soon. Every time I go by it, I keep thinking I just don't. Again, I know it's a costly renovation, but you just at some point. We don't want to lose this building. So I applaud you undertaking this and definitely I think it's a very worthwhile project and I can't wait till we see some of the ideas that you guys are going to bring forth.
All right, can I jump in for a moment? I just want to second what Doug said and applaud you for jumping in on this. And you're ticking all the boxes that I'm concerned about, restoring the front, modernizing the back, especially the vertical circulation. So at this point, full steam ahead. It looks like you guys have really good direction.
Yeah, I would agree that the vision that you're showing us today is totally acceptable, if not fantastic. And that I too look forward to seeing what happens on the back of that building or on the west side of that building. But we actually did a retreat in this building maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we could still go in it. And it's a fascinating building. I look forward to seeing it again.
It looks like Jane Coopersmith with Economic and Sustainable Development had a virtual hand raised.
Hi, everyone. Alex is out of town, but on behalf of him and the work he's done to market this building, I wanted to chime in and say, although we're focused on the structure today, ESD is, really feels good about partnering with Fine Tune and is pleased that they're working with Lauren Wood Builders. And we've been really happy with the meetings and communication that we've had so far. And I also just wanted to issue a general offer to commissioners that if you hadn't had the chance to tour this building, it hasn't officially changed hands yet. So, please feel free to reach out. We do have those keys in our office at ESD, and it really is so special. And we like an excuse to visit. So please don't hesitate. Thanks.
And I have a comment or two.
Go ahead, Chris.
First, I think that the front, if I remember right, has a real grand feeling when you enter. And that was part of their architecture. And I would think it would be good to think in terms of there could be occasions where you'd have events where this is the entrance, and that people that need accessibility can still get in the building. So I think the spirit of that building would be to respect that entrance in a way that people can experience the building as it was designed to be experienced as you enter the building. And I don't know how that affects your interior work, but I think it would keep the part of the magic of that building to be able to feel like everyone that walked in that building saw how grand it was, and that was their effort to make that entrance grand. So think about that. How do you respect it and not just make it a back door? And then, everything around there has an industrial feel to it. So I know that's where you're going with that entrance. And I'm relieved to hear there's no banana involved. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I just wanted to add that that's exactly the kind of input we were looking for tonight, Chris. It's as we've envisioned the reorienting of the building to the west, that probably hasn't gotten as much thought so far, but I'm glad you said what you did, and we'll be discussing that.
Great.
Did you have something?
I had a comment. I assume this is going to be held held by Fine Tune privately, as a for-profit.
Well, Duncan, so I mentioned earlier that my founding partner and I are equal partners, and we own about 87% of the business. I think it is likely we have already formed an LLC that is solely owned by the two of us, where we've left out our other three minority shareholders. We've very creatively titled it 601 North Morton LLC. The reason we did that was, and we're not even remotely in any kind of an exploratory phase of selling our business, but it occurred to us that down the road, if the day ever came where we were to do that, the buyer would not likely want, the piece of real estate in Bloomington. So we're buying this, but look, it's our intention to run Fine Tune for as far as the eye can see into the future, and we will be leasing the space to Fine Tune.
Well, the reason I ask you is because this is a National Register building, and if it's privately owned as a for-profit entity, it's eligible for federal tax credits, and that's a huge incentive. And I haven't heard anything said tonight that I think wouldn't be eligible for tax credits. I mean, I haven't heard any design parameters that I think would violate the tax credit reg.
It's not lost on us, and we are intending to at minimum explore what's available to us.
Yeah, good. It's a big monetary savings when you get through a project like this. So 20%.
Yes.
I'm just going to jump in and say how thrilled I am to even get to think about this building. It's one that after I started delving into the history of Bloomington, I thought, oh man, that's a really cool part of the history, and it's a very distinctive with a lot of historical integrity. So I'm just thrilled, and I'm just thrilled that you guys are being really good actors and want to do the right thing. And I hope that Ms. Cooper-Smith will reach out to my email and give me a tour, because, man, I've been curious about the inside of that place since I looked at it on the outside. Oh, excellent. She emailed me. We're good to go. I'll shut up. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would support this project wholeheartedly. I like Brant and everybody else. We saw that building 5, 6 years ago, and I fell in love with it. So I'm really happy that it's going to be saved and brought back to a good life.
So Rich and Lauren, are you getting what you want?
I'm really grateful for your all's time on this. I know these Zoom meetings can be tedious, but we didn't want to even go to the drawing board without at least getting some initial sort of feedback from you. And this has been really helpful. And I think you guys can share my address, my email address on here, but if anybody has follow-up thoughts that they want to share with our team, I'd be grateful to hear it. Our next step is going to be to start, exploring that west elevation. And as soon as we have some concept thoughts, we'll come back to you guys if that's okay, to get your initial sort of passes on that.
That'd be great.
Fantastic.
You can share my information too. Please don't be shy.
Great. Thank you very much.
Good
Thank
luck.
you guys. Really appreciate it. The time.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jane, for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on. We don't have any old business. Any commissioner comments tonight?
I have one comment.
Yes.
We saw 2 sign proposals, and the downtown one came in right in the parameters because the guidelines were pretty clear. And the other one just showed what can happen in a town without review, without guidelines, and it isn't pretty. So it's important what we're doing, and I'm very proud to be part of it, and I hope you all are too. Thank you.
Any other comments?
That was my comment.
No, anybody else?
Yeah, do we get an update on the interview process?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, no problem. So we had 4 interviews yesterday, 1 this morning, awaiting word from a possible other candidate. We are going to do round 2 interviews next week. And then ideally by the end of the week, we'll have decided on a candidate and we'll inform them of that. So, and then depending on when that individual could start, it could be as early as that following week or, 2 weeks after. So that's where we sit right now.
So is there going to be any commission input in these interviews?
Yes, we've discussed that internally, and we do intend to reach out, possibly involve commission members as part of the second round of interviews. We didn't necessarily want to involve anybody from the commission or planning this first round until we narrowed it down to, right now it's looking like 2 or 3 candidates.
We would love to help. We're going to be working with these people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, your input is going to be very valuable. So expect to hear from me and or John Zodi about next week.
We're all glad to help.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other commissioner comments? Any comments from the public? I don't think there's public. Any announcements tonight?
Supper time.
Yes.
Let's call the night. We're adjourned.
Good night,
Thanks,
all.
everybody.
Good night. Good
night.
meeting.
Okay.